Hey everybody, welcome to our live stream. I am here at Lindinhof and I masked up, so I apologize for the muffled, but we are bringing you live back again. I have traveled over here to Lindinhof. We are going to do a very short live tonight. We're just going to talk about lunging the horse, and in another subsequent video live stream, we will talk about lunging a rider. So yeah, I'm here. I just got here literally like 5 minutes ago, and I was really concerned I was going to be late for this, but I got here. Megan luckily is already warming up her horse. So yeah, welcome to our live. Like I said, this is going to be fairly short. We are in a bit of a drought here. It's been really dry. It's been really awful. So luckily we are in the climate controlled arena of Lindinhof, where the weather inside is always perfect. But yeah, so Megan is warming the horse up, but thank you, Megan, for once again being a part of our live stream. Her information is going to be down below in the description. As far as how to contact her, her YouTube channel is Lindinhof1. You can find her again. I'll have all her contact information down below in the description box. If it's not there already, I'll make sure it's in there soon. But yeah, hopefully she's ready to go. So Megan, how you doing?
Hey.
Okay, hang on a sec, folks. Here we are in the beautiful arena at Lindinhof. So hey, lady, thanks for having us. Sorry I was almost late.
No problem.
You know how much fun it is for me trying to get here on time. You never know with traffic.
Never know.
So appreciate you doing this. Tonight we're talking just a little bit about lunging the horse. This is not going to be a very long live. And hello to Pabanco Chano. Appreciate you coming in. I see your comments and we appreciate it so much. So big shout out to you. Appreciate that. So Megan, we're going to quick talk here a little bit about lunging a horse. You've got one of your nice school horses here. He's already starting to get warmed up. So sorry, like I said, I'm a little late to all this, but I'm here. So, okay, you are USDF Certified Instructor. Part of testing out at the very first testing is, of course, proving that you can lunge a horse. So some of that has to do, obviously, with tack fitting, with safety. So where shall we start, my dear?
Well, I guess we can just go with
Okay.
And so when you stand in one spot, you're the very center of the circle. And so that way your horse can ride on a circle. If we move around, the horse is not riding on the circle. So just we'll go to the trot. And you can see how I'm just standing in one spot. And I pivot around my left leg is going left. And I'm watching how he's moving. Is he in front of my leg or my whip? You want to have the same position that you have when you ride. You don't want your arm out here. You don't want to be here with the whip. You don't want to be flailing the whip. You just want to come, stand here, and you just flick like every corner of the circle with the whip.
And I noticed that you have very neatly in your hand, your left hand, because the horse is going to the left, you have organized your excess amount of lunge line so that it's not tangled around your legs and.
No. So this is what you want to look like when you're lunging. Just to show you a few things maybe that you don't want to do. You don't want to be. You see how I'm moving? A lot of times people change the horse. They might be because of the distance. Ideally, you want to have longer whip. But I'll be honest, I'm comfortable with the shorter whip. Most of the time, slide is used as a lunging the rider. We rarely lunge free like this. And so I don't need a long whip. We could show you the long whip and how you're able to touch him. But let's say he were too lazy, I can just bring him in. needed to touch him, I could just make the circle smaller.
Yep. So the lunge whip is very similar to when you're riding and you're touching them with your dressage whip.
Exactly.
So big shout out, hello to our friend Connor JC. Hi Connor, thanks for joining us tonight. And Pabanco channel, thank you again for joining us. So yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, you know, one of the most common things I always see people doing, first of all, is their lunge whip is an unorganized, dangerous mess. Sometimes it's dragging along behind them, alongside them, under their feet. And then usually they're like, you didn't even like do it to nearly as bad as I've seen people like chasing and like moving out of the circle and just running around, you know? Yep, he's not on a circle.
It's now not down. So I feel like, and also notice you start to raise your hand. I really want to
Yeah, and circles are classical because why?
everything is here. And so you don't want to be lunge line and just call it just as if I'm riding. You don't want to have this. See this?
Yeah.
On the ground? Never. You don't ever want to do that. Then you lose the connection. Here, also notice what he did. He's not trotting the way he was in the very beginning when we said this. Because also, I hate it when they're sad. Driving to the thing.
Yeah. It's dangerous. The horse could spook and then get tangled in it, right?
And then you also want to only lunge, 5 to 7 minutes one way, and then you want to switch. You don't want to keep lunging the same way. So you first want to halt them.
What a good boy.
And then you head towards him. And again, sometimes horses get nervous. They're not settled. Maybe you have a green horse. So you want to take the time, just to say, hey, good boy. And then what I like to do is I like to bring him into the center, just like where I started, although you do that, then set him up so then I go to the other side.
And you're using, we should let everybody know, because can I come in real quick and show them you're using on his face?
Sure.
So she has what's called a lunging cavasen on. So she doesn't need to detach anything when she switches directions.
This is a bridle. I took the noseband off because this cavasen, this lunging cavasen works as a noseband, and it's placed just as a noseband too. And so then I clip to the middle ring, and it goes around just like a noseband. And then this, it's like a throat latch, but it's not. It holds the cavasen away from his eye, so it never goes into his eye in case something were to happen and we're pulling on the cavasen. So, and then you can also see the side reins are fitted so that way he's vertical. He's not. You never want to have these side reins too tight that they pull them behind the vertical. You can also see the side reins aren't clipped around the girth. I've seen a lot of times around the elbow. I've even done it myself prior to being a trainer when I was learning.
Sure.
And all it does is it teaches the horse, you're just pulling the horse's head down. You're not teaching them to go on the bit. And the whole purpose of the lunging is to prepare the horse for under saddle. And so you can see here, there's a keeper under the saddle. I don't know if you can, if my arm's in the way. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I can come up
it's
and over.
awkward, but it goes around the billet. And then there's a keeper on the saddle. And so you have a couple of locations that you can pick. Here, maybe above the saddle pad keeper. This one is the best because he doesn't like to have his own self-carriage. And so I like to have it a little bit higher for him so he's not leaning down into it versus if you have it a little bit lower, you're already pulling him down.
Very nice.
So, and then, the other thing is see how the stirrups are kept. So you have the stirrup leather going through the stirrup.
and then pulled through, and then you pull it through the stirrup leather to the keeper. And so they never come free and are banging around. The other piece of equipment we could have used is a surcingle. We could have put the surcingle around the saddle, or we could have just used the surcingle in place. I just prefer this setup for this horse, so I chose this today because we could actually put the surcingle through the stirrup and then put the side rein and attach it to the surcingle. But this is how I lunge him with a rider.
Well, and in a future session, we're going to have you lunging a rider. So
Yep.
The horse will be pretty much in very similar tack.
Yep.
And there will be a rider.
The only thing that'll be different is the reins are set up for lunging for
Yeah,
a
let's
horse.
show them how you did that.
So you tie the reins up. I'll show you here.
Yeah. This is
So
great.
you tie them up. And so this is for lunging a rider, or not a rider, a horse. But with a rider, what you would do is you would not twist them. You would have them long. You would tie a knot up here, and you would buckle it around this grab strap. So that way, in an emergency, the rider could actually stop the horse if I can't.
Yeah, perfect.
So
thanks, buddy. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and back
we'll
out.
lunge him a little bit the other way.
Yeah. Oh, and we should maybe quickly mention you do have some boots on the horse because you're lunging him.
He has leg wraps. Normally, he has white wraps. Normally, we don't lunge him in white wraps. We have, you know, a colorful pair of work boots. But
Sure.
I thought for the video it might be nice to have nice white
but
wraps.
you put boots on in case he bumps himself.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he demonstrated earlier, he tripped.
Yep, he
So.
always goes with boots. And so then to start out, what we do is we back up. You always want to be in alignment with the saddle or the middle of the horse. Saddle in this here. And so in this position, let's say he were going too fast or he would stop. I'm adjusting. A lot of times we're adjusting, trying to get organized. And so that way I'm placed in the middle of him. I'm looking at the middle of him. And I want to be able to drive him forward, raise the whip. I'm facing him. And again, I hold everything as if I'm riding when I lunge. Because to me, this is about preparation for riding. And he needs, let's say he's coming in too much. So when I want him to go out, I use my body and maybe step towards him. And I push myself into him. And notice how he went out. I also point the whip at his shoulder. Because there's always one way where there may be a little bit stiffer and they make the circle a little bit smaller. So it's to the right. And whereas his hollow side, he likes to fall out on his right side. So going left, he's falling out. So I push him out. And again, I'm not whipping, like, you don't want to, you know, whip, use the whip. And he is a school horse, so he's not as sensitive. But maybe with another horse, if I was doing like I've seen this, first of all, if someone else is riding in the arena with you, you're probably scaring your horse. Two, you want your horse more sensitive. And ideally what you want to be able to do is to drive him forward. Push him with your body. You use the whip to drive him forward. If he's not reactive, like I said, he's on the lazier side, and which is what I prefer. Sometimes I may have a timid rider. And so then I don't push him as fast until the rider is comfortable. But I want to be able to bring him in. And I want to be able to tap him if I need to drive him forward. So that's how you want to be able to use the whip. You don't want to do these big cracks. See how he is actually getting a little bit more excited. And again, you can't really control his reaction. You can't softly send him more forward.
Well, and I can only imagine if you cracked the whip and you had a green rider on or a young kid, a very inexperienced rider, we call him a green rider, how dangerous that might get.
And then while you're lunging, you can also be able to spiral him in, spiral him out. So if it was a lunging, you know, And now he's a little bit unsure with it. Normally he's very soft. See how that affects our horses. And then once you're ready, the other thing I can say, some horses are trained that way. Otherwise, you can drive him out of it and a little shaky. Now when he gets a little bit low in the pole, I send him a little bit forward. Because again, you want the position of your horse's head and frame to be the rider's frame. And you can gotta be careful. I have a bad habit where I like to move down. You really have to walk that you stand in one spot, especially when you're teaching a student. You have to navigate, staying on top of what he's doing as well as coaching students. So lunging a horse and rider is actually quite difficult. And so he didn't respond. So I step out and I get after him a little. Come, come, come. The other thing that's really important is when you're wanting him to lift up into a gait. Let's say we're going to walk, trot, or we're going to trot together. Your voice wants to encourage you. And so you lift him up. And then when you want him to come down, and you give a little, just like you're riding, a little tap up on the rein. Good. Any questions?
Nope, this is great.
And then when you want to bring it back, you can see how I use my voice. You can say walk, or I just kind of roll my tongue and he slows down. The other thing is I can point, you want to be able to move your whip. So if a horse is like, let's say they get all excited, you want to put the whip behind. So a lot of times when you're learning how to use the whip, I've seen a lot of people, when you raise the whip, usually that's a little scary, or some of the horses are trained to go faster. So they run even more. So you're trying to organize. So it's a lot to lunge a horse. Good. And then when you want him to stop, it's just like in riding, you ask, he doesn't do it, then you try to make a stronger tug on the line. As I'm walking up to him, I like to use this method. Oh, he's like, what are you doing? He should stay out there. But what I do is I go one loop on one side of my hand, one loop on the other side of my hand.
Never coiling it around your fingers.
And let's say this was messy. What you want to do is drop it and right away put it back in order, right? You never want to have this.
Yeah.
Never. And I've seen that a lot.
You lose a finger, your hands.
At a horse show, and I had a good friend who was loading a horse, and the rope was not wrapped around her hand, and as she was loading, he was having issues, and the rope got wrapped around her hand, and she lost 3 fingers.
Oh my gosh.
So it's not an old wives' tale. The other thing that this little button here is for, this little loop, is not just the grab strap, but putting the side reins on, connecting the side reins. Can you see that?
I'm coming right up.
Oh, just like that. And then I go to the other side. So let's say it was connected through the bit and to the other side, I would want to undo it. And when I switch sides, come around to the other side, you never want to have, let's say, sometimes people lunge off the bit through, if you're going through USDF, that's really not a safe way. However, if you are, you want to make sure that you never do this.
So this is a big
See-
no.
So you
Yep.
see this? This is a no. I'm on this side. So this, and I've seen this happen, you know, and so if our horses got spooked, you'd want to have a connection. Ideally, though, if you're going to do that, you want to go through the bit over. And again, you're always switching. You don't want to connect to the bit. This is a safer way. It's a kinder way. So if you don't own a cavasen, this is a kinder way. There are other options, but really I lunge off the cavasen or this way. So the other options are in the USDF manual. I'm not as familiar with them. I wouldn't recommend them. So this is what I would do if you don't have a cavasen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I highly recommend getting a cavasen.
And I think they're available through a lot of tack suppliers.
They are, yeah.
So
I like the older versions.
yeah.
And this is really important too, that your horse is relaxed, that you can just stand here. You know, sometimes with the younger horses, I just come out and we just hang out. Because a lot of times if I get a new horse that doesn't know me or doesn't know the arena, sometimes just standing here is a problem. And they're not wanting to connect with me. And so this shouldn't be an issue. I should be able to move things around on the saddle. I should be able to adjust the girth, and the horse should stand. If he does move, as you saw, he did move towards me. I wouldn't want him turning in towards me. And the reason why, again, that's a safety issue. So if he's turned towards me and let's say something spooks him, while my rein is long, he could step on the lunge line if I'm not quick enough or he spooks. Or if he does spook, let's say he runs to me or over me. So it's always important that he stay parallel to me, that he doesn't turn in and come towards me. And that's just a training thing. There are other training methods that people do that's different methodology, but you always want him to be able to stand here. So to be able to stand here and have this conversation is always a good thing.
Well, and you, you know, when you were kind of showing what not to do with the whip, you could tell he was like, Megan, you never do this. You're kind of scaring me. Like you could tell he was like, this is not normal. This is not part of our normal like routine. And I'm a little upset. Like,
yeah, he was very
the trust
stiff.
is suddenly like, ooh, wow, this is not right. Like, I'm a little upset.
And when I was lunging him, the other thing, you want to be able to visualize that there could have been a rider riding him. I mean, that's the purpose of the lunging, you know, that, and that's typically why I don't lunge without the side rein.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm trying to teach the horse for under saddle work. And so I want him to go into frame. I also want him to use his abdominal muscles. I want him to come round over the top line. So when you saw him on the lunge line moving, whether it's the trot or the canter, you could see how round and through he was. And if he isn't, then I started working on transitions or spiraling him in or spiraling him out. Also, again, just playing on the lunge line as if I were riding him and talking, and he can feel that this is really sensitive.
Yeah. So hello, Peter, and he says he loves the show, and he says ask Megan if she'd smile more, and she is smiling right now. So I think it's very hard to talk when you're concentrating on training a horse with a big smile on your face. But
you know what? I was always accused of that, like in competition, because you're so focused. My mother would always say, "Are you having fun?
Yeah.
You really don't look like you're having fun at all." And I'm like, I'm having a blast.
You're just concentrating.
Yeah, I'm just concentrating.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
I'll try to smile more.
Yeah. Well, you're smiling and laughing, so it can't be that bad.
It can't be. Right, Sly?
Right, Sly? Sly's like, I'm sleepy. He's like, I appreciate that this is done. So, is there anything else you want to talk about as far as?
You know, you might really want to consider how long you're lunging your horse.
You mentioned briefly switching sides. Now, would you go back and forth and back and forth?
I would. In a lunge lesson, I usually go 4 to 6 times I've switched.
Okay.
Number one, it's helpful for the rider, but the main thing is our horses. Lunging for long periods of time is very hard on our horses, especially if we're going one way for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you want to use both sides, both muscle groups.
You exhaust them in the one direction, and then there's no gasoline left to work
For
the
the
muscles
other.
the other direction.
But too, like let's say I was just doing a lunging prep, right? This is how I wanted to warm up. You can do that for the older horses. Sometimes it's easier for the older horse to not have the rider on and they can just move, and you're not right away putting them together. We feel better because they feel better. You're not right away, you know, putting them together. Let's say it was a younger horse and they were just young and exuberant and fresh. You still don't want to lunge them for 45 minutes. You know, I think tops, maybe with a young horse 15, if they're like really fresh, you're at a horse show, you know, okay, get it. But anything over that, you really want to consider how often you're lunging them. And same thing for him. I try to, you know, minimize it to like 3 days a week because he's a great lunge horse. I have 2 lunge horses, but then they're also used for riding. The other thing I do is when riders come, they're free walk, you know, for about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So they get limber before we attach the side reins and expect them to go in a frame.
How about lunging as a tool in different types of weather?
Yeah, well, yeah, for instance, like in the wintertime, we have snow that comes off the roof. And on those days, which isn't every day. So let's say it's 1 day out of the week or 3 days out of a month. Yeah, I don't want to die, you know, and it's not the horse's fault that there's snow coming off the roof. It's not mine. And so why not just lunge them? Also, it's a good break from the rider. Let's say you're both stagnant. And the other thing too, I think it's super helpful to lunge the horse because then I can see the way he's moving without me, you know, or let's say he's moving without me with side reins on, because a lot of times I lunge my horse with just the halter and the lunge line for the vet or the farrier, and they want to see how they're moving, which is really different from when a rider's on. That's really important to know because our horses can get a lot of help from the rider or a lot of hindrance. So depending on the caliber of rider.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, what about like cold versus warm? Like if it's really cold, do you ever consider like warming them up on the lunge line?
Yeah,
or?
for sure. Yeah, because sometimes they come in cold back. Here we also body clip them. We put blankets on them. You know, we have coolers, but it's still really cold when it's 20 degrees. Yeah, for sure. If it's a little fresher horse, yeah, totally.
You know, you talked a little bit about, you know, young horses on and obviously you mentioned as this is an extension of your riding. So just like a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, you're not going to drill that horse when you're riding on circles.
Yeah.
You're not wanting to maybe drill them on a lunge line all the time. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, this is great. This is awesome. So appreciate it. And thanks, Horsey Pony. And I'm going to switch this around. Thanks, everybody. We said this would be a very quick one. So we're right around, I think 40 minutes, maybe half hour to 40 minutes. So appreciate, thanks for having us here, Megan. Yeah, we're about 30 minutes. So
thank you.
We will, so we're going to do lunging with a rider, possibly next week, correct? Yes. So weather permitting, schedules permitting, next Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. Central Time. I hope to be back here at Lindinhof. Megan will be lunging a rider if this all goes well. So watch the channel. Like I said, leave comments below if you have. I will make sure I have Megan's contact information below if you need to get a hold of her for anything. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next video. Bye, Megan.